Good day, everyone. I'm Princess Ann Ruzol, and I will be your teacher for today. And we will be discussing a topic. What is it? Let's answer and play this activity.
As I have mentioned earlier, we have to play and answer this activity for us to know what is our topic for today. As you can see, we have here 4 pictures, and all we need to do is find the one word that describes the picture. So first, we have here fire, land, water, and air. What do you think it is? Are you thinking about elements? That is correct. That's elements. Because we have the element of fire, the land, water, and the air. Good job. Next we have here, oh, it's confusing, but let's try to answer this. As the picture says, we have here some people who are short. Very good. For picture, describe a word short. What was our first word? Correct, elements. And the second word is short. Oh, do you have something in your mind? What's our lesson for today? Let's try this one. Last one, we have here something about writing. What do you think? If your answer is story, very good, because the picture says here or illustrate here some parts of story or some clues about story. Very good. Therefore, our topic for today is all about elements of short story. But before that, let's watch this video for us to recap what are the elements of short story. Let's learn some.
Check it out, yo. Yeah. Setting, that's like where it's going down. Could be the train compartment, a castle, or a town. Could be the Arctic winter, like to build a fire. The temperature's dropping, excitement's getting higher. Setting sets the scene, so the scene seems set. Could be an Italian restaurant where we met. Setting gives us the where and the when. Could be modern day, the future, or way back when. Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Plot is the action, the quest for satisfaction. What's going down, what's going to happen? 4 men at sea in an open boat, rowing and hoping that they can stay afloat. The plot, they had to make it to the beach, but the waves are big and the shore seems out of reach. Plot is a series of events like Lemony Snicket. It could be crazy, wild, or straight wicked. Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Knock, knock. Who's there? Oh, it's the characters, the people in the story who carry out the action. Characters can be pretty tiny or clean. Characters can be silly, whiny, or mean. Juliet is a character and so is Romeo. Pokemon has characters and so does Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters can be dogs, lions, or hippos. J.K. Rowling chose Harry Potter. Who knows? Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Put your snack back in your backpack, we're not finished. Something going wrong. That's the conflict, kids. A struggle in the plot, now who's on top? Could be a fight for money like some robbers and cops. Could be an internal conflict, a struggle inside. Like I don't wanna tell the truth, but I don't ever wanna lie. Flick something in your eye, now you're conflicted. What created drama? The conflict did. Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Plot, character, conflict, theme, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing writing a short story that's mad exciting. The theme of the story is the main idea, the central belief or the topic that's in there. It's usually something abstract like sacrifice, isolation and resurrection. We back to life. Like don't lie, don't practice libel. The theme of To Build a Fire is survival. Survivor on your own like 5-0. Vocabulary something that you have to get. Character, conflict, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting. Plot, character, conflict, setting. Yes, these are the 5 things that you're gonna be needing when you're reading or writing a short story that's mad exciting.
This is my presentation for our topic for today, the elements of short story. But first, let us define what is short story. Short story is a fully developed story with theme. It is less elaborated than novel because short story can be done reading in just one sitting. In the overview of our topic for today, we have to discuss our objectives and character, theme setting, plot, and conflict, which are the elements of our short story. And lastly, we have to try something that can help us to apply what we have learned, especially you. Okay, let's discuss our objective first. At the end of the discussion, the student should be able to define and identify the elements of the short story. Analyze a story using the elements and determine the elements in the given story entitled The Tortoise and the Hare. Moving on, we have the characters. Characters is a person or sometimes even animal who takes part in action of short story or other literary work. With character, we can able to see what is happening because they're the ones who are going to act, to say the dialogue, to deliver something about the story. It can be also animals, like in fables, it can be a short story, right? Characters give us the spice to enjoy reading the story, right? Characters can be flat character, round character, static character, and dynamic character. What about flat character? It is the character who shows only one trait. For example, a character that is kind at the beginning of the story, and at the end of the story, the character will remain kind. Next one is the round character. Round character shows many different traits, good or bad. Especially if the character started in good or with good manner, in the middle, he or she will be bad, and at the end of the story, he will be going back to good character. That's a round character. The changes in different traits. Okay? The static character. Character does not change through the course of the story. It is something to do with the stability of the character, who doesn't change the mood if he plays the character that way. It will end up playing that way at the end of the story. The dynamic character talks about the character develops and grows during the course of the study, meaning the character at first is not present in the story, but later on, the development of that character will be seen, and little by little, you are able to see the character is blooming depending on his or her role in the story. Those are the types of the characters. And we have here the protagonist, clear center of the story. All major events are important to these characters. And compared to antagonist, opposition, or enemy of the main character. The protagonist is the one who is the center of the story. And the antagonist, the opposition, or the enemy. In Tagalog, we have here the kontrabida. Sa ating bida. Something like that. Moving on, characteristic of a character can be revealed through his or her physical appearance, what he or she says, thinks, feels, dreams, and what he or she does or does not do. For example, the character is a dreamer or a child who has a bigger dream for the future. You can define the character that the child is ambitious, that the child character is very positive in life, and lastly, what others say about him or her and how others react to him or her. It is something like the other characters are talking to another character, describing the traits of that particular character. For example, the two characters are talking, they're talking about Belinda. For example, Belinda is the character. You know that Belinda is very, very bad daughter of Teresa. Oh, really? Something like that. So, Belinda now is being discussed as bad character. Okay, let's move on. Let us have now the setting. What is all about the setting? The setting of short story is the time and place in which it happens. Authors often use descriptions of landscapes, scenery, buildings, season, or weather to provide a strong sense of setting. With setting, we are going to or we will able to imagine deeper what is happening in the story or where the story took place, what is the time, how the character are feeling when it's, for example, spring season, summer season, or cold season and other weathers. The aspects are place, of course, place. This is something about where the story is taking place. The specific place, it can be at the plaza, at the house, or inside the house, in the garage, in the mall, and something like that. A particular place that the story is taking place. Next is the time. Historical period, time of the day. Is it morning, afternoon? Because the author or the narrator will be describing at the end of after having their lunch. So probably that's after lunch. That's around 12:30 to 1 p.m., right? That's the role of time in setting. The weather condition, as mentioned earlier, is it rainy? Is it sunny? How they are going to adapt with those weathers, or how the events are being constructed when it's stormy, what they're going to do, something like that. Next, the social condition. What is the daily life of the characters like? Is the character poor or is the character rich or in middle class? What is the condition of the character? The social condition, to be specific. Okay, it focuses on the speech, dress, mannerisms, custom, etc. of a particular place. Last one, the mood or atmosphere. What feeling is created at the beginning of the story? Cheerful or eerie, or something like a strange feeling, or is it a happy or joyful one? Something like that. Next, let us proceed to plot. This is how the author arranged the event to develop the basic idea. It is the sequence of events in a story or play. Plot is a planned, logical series or events having the beginning, middle, and the end. Plot is very important in a short story because it gives us the guide, what will happen next, or how the story is being arranged by the author. If the plot is not being arranged that well, the story will be in chaos. Uh, we will not be getting the message of the short story. That is why plot or formulation or arrangement of plot is very important. how are we going to arrange the plot? First, we have here the uh, parts of the plot. First, we have exposition or the introduction. The beginning of the story, characters, background, and setting is being or are being revealed. It's not the introduction, it's something to do about the introducing the character, who will be the protagonist or antagonist in this character, or in this short story. Next, events in the story come complicated. The conflict is revealed. These are events between introduction and climax. And this is the rising action, where the problem is slowly arising. This is when the development of the story happens. Next is the climax, the turning point of the story. Readers wonder what will happen next. After the development of a certain problem that the characters should resolve. Okay? Consider the climax as threefold phenomenon. Main character receives new information, or the main character discovered something. The main character accepts this information, realizes it, but does not necessarily agree with it. So there is something in your mind that, oh, this is gonna be a chaos between characters, or this is gonna be a good fight with the characters, something like reaction like that. Main character acts on this information, makes the choice that will determine whether or not objective is met. So in climax, you are going to see how the character uh, is going to act in a certain uh, problem brought by the rising action. See, it is all connected with each other, and that is very important in formulating or arranging a plot. Next, we have here the following action. Resolution begins. Events and complications starts to fall into place. These are the events between the climax and denouement. In falling action, the problems are slowly having the solutions. Solutions are not always uh, forgiveness, something like that, or the character just accept what happened. Uh, the falling action gives us the answer on how the story will end. Basically, it's all about acceptance, okay? But not necessarily that the whole story ended with this kind of situation. Some story ended with or answered the problem. Some characters died, and the problem is also resolved by that. It's really depend on the author on how he or she will going to give us spice in a particular story. Next, we have the end or resolution or the ending, final outcome of events and the story. This is the end of the story. The proper ending of the story is very important. You should not leave your reading hanging. Like, why? I don't understand what happened in the story. No, no, not like that. Because at the end of the story, the learner or the reader should able to have some realizations or learnings about a particular short story. And that is very important because one of the aim of the short story is for the reader to acquire some comprehensive learnings and moral lessons that the short story can give them. Now let us proceed to another element of the short story, the conflict. Essential to plot, opposition ties incidents together and moves the plot. Not merely limited to arguments, conflict can be any form of struggle the main character faces. Within a short story, there may be only one central struggle, or there may be many minor obstacles with a dominant struggle. So in conflict, it is something about always the problem that will arise in the middle of the story or in the production of the story. It is the problem that the characters should answer, should give us answer and realization at the end of the story. Conflict is also important because this is the story will be circling. After the conflict was found, oh, what will the character do about this particular problem? How they are going to solve this? It give us the excitement in reading the story. Me, I myself is very interested with the development of conflict because it gives me an imagination and what will happen next to the story. And it's like me asking, this is so interesting. So I will continue reading. That is why the formulation of conflict, the author should think deep about it. Think about the effective conflict that the eye of the reader that will catch it. Okay? We have two parts of or two types of conflict, the internal and external conflicts. First, let's talk about internal conflicts. Struggle with oneself. Characters versus self. Struggles with own soul, physical limitation, and choices, or etc. It is something about character versus him or herself, fighting against physical, psychological, or emotional feelings of the character. It doesn't involve anything or characters in the story. It's just one character himself. Next is the external conflict. Struggles with a force outside oneself. It can be character versus character, struggles against other people, or most especially between the protagonist and antagonist, or sometimes it is between other characters in the story. Character versus nature, struggles against animals, weather, and environment. How does it happens? When the setting of the story, for example, is stormy, and the character should respond on how they are going to save themselves in that particular situation or weather. That is how the character fights with the nature. Okay? The character versus the society, struggles against ideas, practices, or custom of others. Society involves many characters, and it is like one versus society because you are struggling with your idea, with your own perspective versus the perspective of the society. That the character should be like this, but you are not like that. So you are struggling with the society or the opinion or the perspective of the society. Next, we have here the theme. Okay, the theme or the central message, moral of the story, and underlying meaning of fictional piece may be the author's thought on the topic or view human nature. The theme is very important because we have here examples. The theme first, story title usually emphasizes what the author is saying. Second, various figure of speech, symbolism, allusion, simile, metaphor, hyperbole, or irony may be utilized to highlight the theme. The figures of speech is very helpful, not just in writing literary pieces like poems, but also in writing theme, because in theme you should develop a comprehensive theme for your readers, for them to continue reading or realize something. Example of common themes occurring in literature or television and in film are things are not always as they appear to be. For example, love is blind, believe in yourself, people, People are afraid of change. Don't judge a book by its cover. Those are the example of the themes in the story. Also in theme, the readers will also get something that can change their perspective about a certain topic. For example, a particular topic about COVID-19, but the theme of the story is about positivity or the positive things that we can do despite of COVID-19. In that case, the dilemma or the mindset of the students will change into something positive for them to adapt positively in our changing world. That even though it is really hard to fight with our unseen enemy, but still that particular story, if that particular story give them the opportunity to realize something, or the theme will have it in positive way, that is a success. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, let's try it. I will give you an assignment for you to practice your skills in finding uh, the elements of the short story. This will be beneficial for you because you were able to work with yourself and determine the five elements in the story, the tortoise and the hare. I know that all of you are familiar with the tortoise and the hare. Okay, let's read the story. You want me to read the story? Yes. The tortoise and the hare. A hare was making fun of the tortoise one day for being so slow. "Do you ever get anywhere?" he asked with a mocking laugh. "Yes," replied the tortoise, "and I get there sooner than you think. I'll run you a race and prove it." The hare was so much amused at the idea of running a race with tortoise, but for the fun of the thing he agreed. So the fox, who had consented to act as judge, marked the distance and started the runners off. The hare was soon far out of sight. And to make the tortoise feel very deeply how ridiculous it was for him to try a race with hare, he lay down beside the curse to take a nap until the tortoise should catch up. The tortoise meanwhile kept going slowly but steadily, and after a time passed by, the place where the hare was sleeping, but the hare was slept on very peacefully, and when at last he did wake up, the tortoise was near the goal. The hare now ran his swiftest, but he couldn't not take over the tortoise in time. See? We are not going to answer that now because that will serve as your assignment to determine if you really learn from this topic or giving importance with the elements of short story. You're going to answer that by yourself to determine or test yourself, fight with yourself to determine if you really learn from this lesson. And after all, try to answer this assignment for you. Thank you so much!
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something, and do not forget to apply what you have learned for effective and efficient learning. Again, this is Princess Ann Ruzol, your future English teacher. Padayon. Thank you so much.